You are tuned to Janet Zenith Cablevision. Thank you for watching. It's time for talk. Each evening at this time, Monday through Friday, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. Time for Talk is a community betterment service designed to cooperate with our local community betterment program. Tonight, Rosemary takes us by means of portable camera out of our studios and maybe into your neighborhood. And now, it's time for talk.
It's garden time, and we've raised some tomatoes. We've got lots of green ones, not had many ripe ones yet. Of course, it's just the last part of July. But along with everything good, you seem like you have a problem, and if you see right here, you see the problem with tomatoes, and I think we've shown you these before. This fella can eat his weight every day, and he evidently lives 3 or 4 weeks. But what we've been doing lately is we've been picking them off, and we've been putting them in a jar. And we have these 2 this morning, and I'll give him a leaf to eat so he won't be unhappy in there for a while. Well, I didn't mean to give him that big, but anyway, we'll give him a leaf to eat. Now, what we have done is we've wondered how these things get on here. Where do they come from? Your tomato worms, where do they come from? So we've done some research on the internet, and we've also watched an interesting thing go on, and we think if we found it interesting, you'd find it interesting too. So we found out the insect is called a sphinx moth, or a hawk moth, or a hummingbird moth that lays the eggs on these plants. They grow to this size. Of course, they start out very small. We have some that we picked yesterday. Now, what I thought would happen was, like my cabbage worms, the caterpillar will make what's called a chrysalis, and I thought this one would too. Now, see, this one has been into eating tomatoes, but he looks so bad, I said to Russ, they're going to die in here, and they're not going to make a chrysalis. So let's take him back outside, and let's put him on a good plant. Oh, come on. Let's put him on a good plant. I'll put 2 of them out here. Would you quit? Would you just turn loose? Because I thought he would need something good to eat. They were looking so sad, and they seemed to be just gathering moisture, and I thought they were just going to die without doing anything. So I brought them back out, and I put them on this plant thinking, wow, they'll say, great, we've got something to eat, and they would start eating again. But the one we put out yesterday didn't start eating again. He seemed not to be interested in the leaves of this tomato plant at all. I'm going to put these back in the jar. I don't want them to. And instead, he began to crawl down, just like this one's doing today. He began to crawl down, and I thought, well, he's hiding. He's just afraid. I thought, we'll see if this one will do the same thing that our caterpillar did yesterday. This is tomato hornworm. Got a little red horn on the tip. Now he's not pretty like they are when you first pick them off. See, when you first pick them off, they're nice and bright green. Now you see, after he's been in a jar for a night, he begins to look like he's gonna die. I don't know, he gets juicy looking, and whereas this one's just sort of solid, these 2. But I brought them back out to refresh themselves because I thought they were going to die without making a chrysalis. But instead, the one that we put out the other day crawled right down to the ground, just as this one seems to be intent on doing. Can you see him go? Russ, can you see him going down to the ground? Instead of sitting up there and eating like you'd think he'd be hungry to do, he's going right down to the ground. Let me move this leaf out of the way. And I thought, well, he's finding himself a new stalk of plants. Let's see. No, he's not going to dig in. Well, he's just heading for the hills. He evidently isn't. All right. Now, you see, times got hard for him in that jar, and something inside triggered the urge to get down off the plant and to dig into the ground where he's going to make one of those brown, hard pupa. And we're going to try to keep in mind where he dug in here. And the other one is going down right here and will probably dig in at the base of the plant. But he's digging in right here and will cover himself completely and be in the ground then for months, maybe even till next spring. We'll dig him up and show you what he's going to make. But he will be completely underground. So they have to get down off the bush. They have to quit feeding, get down off the bush, and get into the ground. And he's digging, ill-equipped as he is to dig, just with that little old snout that's been eating my tomato leaves. But he's making progress. So they dig in at the base of tomato plants. Now, we got these two worms on the huge tomatoes in the back, but it's very difficult to get into the roots to show you what they do and how they burrow. But we brought it out to one of these young plants, and he is really disappearing. And the first one that we had has practically disappeared. Okay, now can you see him? See, he's evidently going this way in the ground because I see the dirt over here move. He is practically gone. Now he will dig in deeper. So we'll have two at the base of this plant, and I need to mark where he is. We'll keep track of him, and we'll uncover him periodically so we can see what sort of thing he makes. I don't know if you can still see the dirt move or not, but he is able to dig in. We're going to keep up with him. And what we've learned is if you pick them off and stress them for a 12 or 24-hour period to where they know they can't keep eating, they better do something drastic. Now, if we saved these in overnight, tomorrow, they'd be ready to go down in the ground. So we're going to keep track of these for you and for us, and we're all going to learn where the little tomato worms go when they want to make moths. And the third worm that was in the jar and stressed overnight has crawled a little bit away from the plant and is going in at the base of another one. It is amazing how they can begin to dig seemingly with no digging equipment. You have a good shot of him as he's just twisting his head and using his biting mechanism for eating leaves, and he can get down in that dirt and he will completely bury himself. And I've got to go get another marker. So we have three. We'll have a record of where three are, and then we will dig the pupa up periodically, hopefully, and we can learn what he looks like in the soil. I wish we had a shot of the adult as she lays the eggs.
That come into the picture.
All right, we will mark all three of these. I knew Russ's old ham radio antennas would come in handy. I'll push it down, and we'll have a place. Hopefully we can find him. It's been about 5 minutes that it has taken, 6, 7 maybe, for him to burrow all the way. You see just the tip of his tail disappearing. Now, we don't know how far underground he will go. We don't know if he'll turn right or left. We don't know how far he'll dig. but hopefully we're going to be able to locate the pupa that he makes. It's supposed to be brown and hard, and you've probably dug up a million and wondered what they were as you were doing any sort of yard work or gardening. Now, you know those tomato worms, they not only like tomatoes, they like a lot of other things, but they can eat up a pepper plant like this in a day. They can eat all of this. You give them 2 good tomato worms, and they're hungry, and they can eat everything off of there. And the only way I know he's here is you can see these leaves chewed up like this. See this? And also when you pull the stuff back, I don't know if you can see it well or not. See this worm potty? They call it frass, F-R-A-S-S. If you read about frass in a book, that's exactly what they're talking about. And here he is, just sitting up there big as life. And I just can't have it. He's just got to come off and go down on the ground. And then I guess I step on him, and that's about all you can do. Now, if you want an example of what he can do practically overnight, just look at this. Just look at this banana pepper plant. And all the leaves are gone. I got him off yesterday. But one big worm. We really fatten them up out here. Okay, and here's an example of what they can do to the tops of the tomato plant. And here he is. And there he is. He's pretty good size, but he's not near big enough that you can get him off. And he can eat his weight, and he can eat, who knows. So the tomato worms are eaten from the top, and as we came out today, I just saw a groundhog run across here and into the thicket. And he loves ripe tomatoes. So, you know, between the tomato worms and the groundhogs, and who knows what else, maybe we'll have some tomatoes to eat.
You have been watching Time for Talk. Time for Talk is a community betterment service designed to cooperate with our local community betterment program. Each evening, Monday through Friday at this time, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. If you are aware of items of interest, please let us know for possible airing on this program. Time for Talk is brought to you through the cooperation of Kennett Cablevision Incorporated and is produced through the facilities of the Slicer Street Church. The Holy Scriptures come alive. Coming up next. Stay tuned.